Let me ask you a question. If someone tells you something, how do you know if it's true? Well, it kind of depends, right? It kind of depends. Like, if I tell you the Golden State Warriors won last night against the Phoenix Suns, there's sort of relatively simple ways to find out whether that's true, right? You go on to some sports website and you check out the scores. But what if the truth that I told you instead was something like, you'll be lucky to have 3 genuine friends your entire life? How do you look that one up? That one wouldn't be so simple. The cops are coming to get me already. I've just started the video. See, this is why we need to abolish the police. But anyway, how would you look that up? How would you research whether it was true, what I said about you'll be lucky to just have 3 genuine friends? You can't look up on a website whether that's true. And the question is, like, is it true or is it false or is it something else? Well, in this video, we're going to look at some truths given to us by the company, the YouTube channel. They're like a YouTube channel, but they're a company also. And they're called The School of Life, and they're enormous. They have well over 7 million subscribers, and they have a lot of fans. Even this video, a lot of people liked, but a lot of people didn't like, and we'll get to why. Let's go through the video. I got nothing else to do. Maybe you have nothing else to do either for the time being. So let's check it out from the top. So 2 things right off the bat. Yes, this video does not have narration. I guess Alonda Baton was busy, maybe making business decisions, trying to sell more products with the holiday season coming up. Or I don't know, I'm completely making that up. It's a guess. And also, you might notice, like, it's kind of good so far. I mean, like, dark truths to cheer us up, like, I like that. And this whole idea that, like, a good idea for mental health is to be able to embrace the darkness in life, to be able to, face sadness, to face negative things. 100%, I totally agree. One of the ways I deal with anxiety and talk about with my clients, because I'm a therapist, by the way, I talk about all the time. You have to be able to face the worst case scenario in a lot of situations. The worst reasonable scenario. You don't have to come up with fantastical situations, but a lot of times being able to face reality is how we get our sense of mental health to be able to carry on in life and actually feel attuned to reality. I believe being in touch with the truth, how things are, I think that's an integral part of mental health. So far, I'm totally on board. I don't love how they say culture forces us to be happy. I think that's an overgeneralization, but I get it. I talk a lot about toxic positivity. I think it's a huge problem, people trying to force themselves to be happy all the time. And I do think in a lot of ways we are sort of taught to just look on the bright side about things. So far, I'm totally on board, which is why the rest of this video bothers me so much. Okay, because check out what happens next. And again, let the suspense build a little bit, because that first point was quite good. The only people we think of as normal are the ones we haven't gotten to know yet. 100%. There's no such thing as normality. I agree. I could see people arguing with that. Of course, people can argue about anything, but totally on board. No such thing as normality. It's just, lack of really in-depth understanding of someone that would make us think they're normal. And that's because what's normal is a sort of relativistic statistical thing. You have the normal curve, and it's whatever falls within the range of, whatever, one standard deviation in either direction or whatever is what we would consider normal. And I'm not trying to make it overly mathematical, but that's how we talk about normal. Something's normal because it falls within the range of 2 extremes. So I agree that when you get to know someone better, you would see aspects of them that don't fall within that more common range. It might not be one part of their personality, it might be another, or something like that. It might be one different behavior than the other thing. But yeah, once you get to know someone better, you see ways that they are unusual, and that's a beautiful thing. But let's keep going on, because this next point takes an Really, a really odd turn. Wait, what? Social media has taught us a lot about people's deep minds. Faith in humanity is no longer an option. Am I missing like a in-between step? Is the first part sarcastic when they say people's deep minds? So we're learning about people's shallow minds? Because we are learning about people's minds with social media. That cannot be denied. But why is faith in humanity no longer an option? And what does that even mean? And why would you drop something like that? And here's where we go back to the initial question I started my video with. How do we verify if something like that is true? We look up, is faith in humanity an option on Google? There's no resource where we can find out if faith in humanity is an option. It's faith. What about all the people who use social media to try to build up and support others? Sharing links to support others, sharing information about activism that can support others, boosting, you have large creators boosting small creators. That's always nice for me to see as a smaller creator. There's a lot you can see on social media where people are just like going out of their way to help others. I'm not saying we need to ignore the bad stuff. For me, being on social media has been a huge wake-up call the last few years. I used to be on it, but being on like Twitter and stuff, you see stuff that like I wouldn't have probably seen on Facebook. Like now I know that fascism is actually a problem. There are a lot of groups, for instance, in the United States who are very much invested in harming minority populations or vulnerable groups. And that's something I'm more aware of because I'm on social media. Does that make me lose faith in humanity? No. It makes me realize the full range of beliefs and the full depth of what people might think and feel. So right out of the gates in this video, we're getting this statement that faith in humanity is not an option. And that's supposed to be a dark truth. And it's just given with no supporting evidence. And it gets way worse. Let's keep watching. We're lucky to have 3 friends in a lifetime? Why? Why 3? Why, man? There's no basis for this. It's so possible to have more friends. There's no reason why we should be limited. Why not 5? Why not 10? Why not 20? Where does 3 come from? And what I found even more interesting than the arbitrariness of this number is friends worthy of the title is the way School of Life phrases it, which I think is really interesting because a friend, it's a relational thing. It can change. Someone can be a close friend, then become more of an acquaintance, then back to close friend. Things can sort of be in flux like that. And I know they don't literally mean a title like you're bestowing an honor upon someone, but it's interesting that they use that language because it creates a sort of objectivist framework. Like, oh, someone is a friend through and through. That is what they are, and that is their title to define their being. Like, it's similar to how School of Life is talking about truth, as if truth is not a socially constructed thing, but that there are these truths that they are bestowing on us. It's like a same sort of like lack of understanding of how things like truth or like friendship are changing over time in flux. One thing might be true to the School of Life that's not true to me. And we can't say that about whether the Golden State Warriors won last night. They did, by the way. It was a great game. But we can certainly say that there's some relativism to whether we'll only have 3 friends, genuine friends, our entire life. So this is not a dark truth that comforts people if they have more than 3 friends. It is very hard for me to choose a least favorite truth in this video, but this is really up there. Most people are good, not out of any intrinsic value. So far I agree, but because of lack of opportunity to be evil. I think most people are neither good nor evil because good and evil are abstract categories that don't exist in the natural world where everybody's just killing everybody animal-wise. I think as much as evil is a category or good is a category, people are good or evil when they're incentivized to act in those ways. People become evil because they're motivated by things that lead them to evil acts, whether it's fame or money or something like that, or power. They're motivated by these things, which we could talk about how society influences people to be motivated towards those things. And then those motivations influence them to evil acts. And then you could call them evil if you want to. But to say that most people are good because they are not given the opportunity to do evil doesn't actually talk about the motivations on the other side. There are motivations to do good. We want good relationships. We want friendships, family relationships. We want to have a positive legacy. We want to be remembered positively. Even you could really talk about an egotistical reason to be good, which I wouldn't say is the only reason to be good, but you could at least talk about that and address there are motivations people have for doing good. It's not just the lack of influence towards evil. Without the opportunity to do evil, it would be hard to say that someone was good. I also don't really understand how that's supposed to make sense that some people don't have the opportunity to do evil. Who doesn't have the opportunity to do evil? Does not every single person have the power to make someone's life more difficult, to harm someone? We all have that power. So what does it mean to not have the opportunity to do evil? What are we talking about when we say evil? And if we're only talking about like starting a war as evil or something, yeah, we don't all have the opportunity to do that. But if that's the only meaning of evil, then what's the only meaning of good? Do you have to like save like a 1,000 people's lives or like save the world? Obviously good and evil, if we're even acknowledging those as legitimate categories, are things that would take place on a day-to-day basis. You do things to help people, you do things to hurt people. I think we all do have that power. Why are we acting like people's decisions are not in some way influenced by their motivations, which can be more or less pro-social or antisocial? Anyway, we're halfway through the video and I'm not cheered up yet. So I'm a little confused as to when I'm going to be starting to get cheered up by these dark truths that are being laid upon my face. You have to be such a misanthropic person to think that's true. You have to dislike so many people because most of us try to impress the people around us, right? I mean, I'm trying to impress you a little bit. And I don't know you, so I don't really like you. But in my day-to-day life, well, I do kind of like you, honestly. If you're watching this far into the video, I like you a little bit. But in my day-to-day life, I'm trying to impress my family, my friends, my clients. I'm just people I meet, people who I do like. So why would we be trying to impress mostly people we don't like unless we mostly just don't like people? I wonder if that's how school of life feels. I wonder if they're extremely misanthropic and negative about what it means to be a human. Anyway, let's keep watching. I love this one because it's totally out of left field. There's no such thing as a work-life balance. Anything compelling will unbalance your life. The school of life does these two-part things where they say one thing and then it sounds like they're explaining it with the next thing they say. So there's no such thing as a work-life balance, and then there's a colon. So it seems like they're saying because anything compelling will unbalance your life. But that has nothing to do with a work-life balance. Work-life balance is acknowledging that things will unbalance your life. That's what it means to have a work-life balance. It's acknowledging things will unbalance my life, so I need to put energy into rebalancing my life. But also, why are we acting like work is necessarily compelling? Many people's jobs are not compelling for them at all. Many people find their jobs incredibly boring. All the more reason to, for instance, not take on extra shifts unless you really need the money. Don't do it, just to be nice to your manager. Maybe say no if you really need that time off. Like, a lot of people are not compelled by their jobs, and so even more reason to make sure they have a good balance. But also, even if you are compelled by your jobs, like I love my job, a lot of people love their job. If you do find your job compelling, why does that mean that you shouldn't try for a work-life balance? Why should we give up on the idea of a work-life balance, school of life? Why is that cheerful? What the Talking to somebody while I was working on this video, I realized it was possible that the school of life means compelling here, as in you're forced by society to have a job and you need to work and earn a wage for a living, so they could mean compelled in that way. And while I would like to think that they were making such a good point, the fact of us being compelled workers and how that affects our mental health, it wouldn't really make sense with their argument, because if that's true, isn't it all the more reason to strive for a work-life balance in the normal sense that that's used? Life is the process of replacing one anxiety with another. I can't argue with this one as much, but it's also not any more true than any of these other things we've been talking about. I mean, you can look at things that way. Just like you can look at a painting and say they replaced a blank canvas with a bunch of colors. I mean, but that would be a stupid way to look at it. Why are all our anxieties the same? I feel bad for people who think this is true. Like, there are other ways to live. You can have relief from anxiety for significant periods of time before you replace one anxiety with the other. And there are better and worse ways to replace one anxiety with another. So, thanks for the help. Okay, next one. When it happens, happiness chiefly feels worrying. I don't know how to say this, but I feel like the person who wrote this video has actually never experienced true happiness. Or they're just an edgy teenager. If you're not okay and you're feeling depressed, that's all good. You don't have to feel bad about that. I understand. Do your best to get yourself back to where you want to be. But maybe don't make a video for 7 million people claiming that you're telling truths. It makes me wonder how that's supposed to help anybody. I can't think. If you can think of any way that's supposed to help people, please let me know. Most people can identify in 3 minutes faults in our character we'll be lucky to identify in a lifetime. So that's, I guess, odd, because I'm wondering, what is a fault in our character? What does that mean? Like, I'm a little temperamental and someone can notice that when they meet me. I'm a little irritable. What is a fault in my, I mean, those are like not necessarily parts of my character. So like, what is a fault in my character? I'm judgmental, right? That would be like a fault, right? So someone can notice that in 3 minutes, but I can't notice it in my lifetime. And I guess the real question here is, assuming this is true, which it's not. There's no way to even come close to calling that true or verifying that to be true. It's a perspective, it's a opinion, it's an edgy sort of poetic line. But like, if it was true, how does accepting that help in any way? Because it's just a harsh truth. So accepting that I'll never understand negative qualities of myself and that other people understand it immediately, well, that doesn't seem to help. They're not even trying at this point. Today it is bad, tomorrow it's worse, until the worst of all happens, presumably death. I mean, a dark truth that really is comforting to me is that we're going to die. To me, that actually is like the ultimate dark truth, that we're all going to die, and that potentially, arguably, that makes our life meaningless. I don't agree with that. But that's sort of the argument. I don't think that's true. I think it's debatable, as all these things are debatable. You can't look them up. But I think the argument that our life is temporary and we're going to die, and so that means in some ways our lives are meaningless because anything we do to influence others will ultimately, the influences we create will die themselves. The people we influence will die. I think that's a dark truth that in a way can be comforting, because there's a freedom in that. Like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about the mistakes I've made living on forever. I can try to be a better person, and I know that eventually I'll get a break from this whole life thing. I can do my best in this world, and eventually it'll end. I don't have to, my suffering will not go on forever. If I'm sad, if I don't like life, I can change it to be better. I can try to influence myself to be better. I have limited control in that. And also I'll die one day. So I don't have to worry about necessarily like what's going to happen in 1,000 years. I mean, I really don't. Like, there has to be this acceptance of the final end to things. And why is tomorrow going to be worse than today? How is that supposed to help anyone? I don't think we should say today was bad, tomorrow will certainly get better. But I think we should embrace the uncertainty of it. Today might be bad, tomorrow we don't know. We don't have total control to create our moods, to create our reality, but we have some. We can do some things. That's just true. That's not like overly toxically positive. That's just true. We have some control over our lives. I don't think that's too controversial. So this video just gets worse and worse. Let's see what happens next. We can only love people on the basis that we don't know too much about what's going on in their minds? Why? The thing they said about normality was like, once we know people in any depth, we know that there's no such thing as normal. And then the thing they said about your character flaws is that people can identify in 3 minutes things about ourselves that we'll never understand. So people can identify things about us in 3 minutes that we'll never know, but we only love people based on not knowing them? How do those gel together? We're either able to know each other or we're not, school of life. This is a direct contradiction. And I mean, that is like the smallest problem with what they're saying, because there's no argument. Look, they wouldn't be able to give evidence for this type of stuff, even if they wanted. There's not going to be scientific study. I mean, there might be some that they can point to, but I'm not expecting them to do that. All they have to do is provide some argument, connect A and B. We can only love people because we don't know what's going on in their minds. Why? Because what's going on in their minds is what? Things we wouldn't love? So only superficial love exists? And that's supposed to be true? Damn, school of life. I feel bad for the school of life. But I don't, because it's not a depressed kid making videos to express themselves. It's a huge channel profiting off of stimulating edgy, depressed feelings in people and then selling them products. So I don't actually feel bad for them at all. It's just stupid, the stuff they say. Okay, this is the worst one, and a lot of the commenters agreed. What? Say one reason why. Because people are bad? You just don't like people. This channel just really doesn't like people. Why would just be yourself ever not be good advice? Because people are bad is the only possible answer to that. Because just be yourself does not mean you can do whatever you want as long as you're being yourself. Obviously, there are limits. If you're a murderer, it's not like, just be yourself, bro. Just be yourself. You're a murderer. Just do what you do. But just be yourself means like, you know, given other things being okay, given you're not harming people or whatever, express yourself how you want to. Why is that bad advice? Just be yourself is the worst advice, and that's supposed to be truthful? Yikes. Big yikes. Getting older is a version of looking tired that no amount of sleep can overcome. I've always been someone who embraces getting older. I like seeing a hair turn gray. I like just signs of getting older. I think it's like cool. To me, it's just, that's the perspective that helps me embrace life. It's like, oh, why would I rage against, you know, the passage of time? It's something I need to embrace. And a good way to frame this point they're making is like, we're all gonna get older. And as I said earlier, we are gonna die. Sorry if you didn't know that. We are going to die. But even before that, we're going to get older and we're going to suffer and we're going to have medical issues and we may look tired and we may become less physically attractive. We may have parts of our body that stop working how we want them to. We almost definitely will. And we can do things, not to prevent those things, but we can do things to ameliorate that, to make it better, to make it a little bit more comfortable, easier. We can make ourselves as healthy as possible with the passage of time. I'm not trying to be optimistic. This is objectively true. No amount of sleep can overcome. Sure, no amount of sleep can make us stay the same age, but sleep and healthy stuff can help us. We don't need to overcome the passage of time. So an actual truth that would be helpful is like, we're going to get sick and our bodies are going to break down as we get old, and we can do some things to make our lives more pleasurable and manageable. Again, not optimistic, just trying to literally say a more truthful thing. even nice things are so much easier to enjoy when they're safely over, is a very pathological thing to say. If you feel that way, you have anxiety. It's okay. Your mind's a little bit anxious. You got to work on that though. You don't have to tell people that that's the truth. You don't have to tell yourself that's the truth. If you feel that way, which I've felt that way before about things, it means you're going through an anxious time where you're not fully present. It doesn't mean you have to deal with that, and it's certainly not generally true. You can do things to make sure you're more in the moment when you're enjoying things. People enjoy an enormous amount of things in the moment. People enjoy lack of safety. Not everyone is like an edgy sort of teenager in their bedroom. Like, I don't even think teenagers feel this way, honestly. This is just a weird, made up sort of like idea that this would be some general perspective. However sad death might be, it would take a foolhardy adult to want to be 5 again and relive their life. I mean, I get that argument. Like, life is full of pain and suffering, so like we wouldn't want to redo it if we could. I don't know that that's true necessarily. I don't know that makes someone foolhardy to want to do that. But to the school of life, death is sad and life is sad. The thing is, school of life, there's a lot in between saying something cheerful and saying beliefs and opinions that are explicitly and excessively negative. I am not the kind of therapist who tries to cheer everybody up. I am not the kind of person who tries to cheer everybody up. People who know me, and if you watch my other videos, I think it's fair to say I embrace dark stuff and I embrace negativity. I think having a critical mindset towards yourself, your life, I think that's extremely healthy. The thing is, I always value being in touch with reality, and if you have beliefs and opinions that you don't have evidence for, you need to be skeptical of how much weight you're putting on those. So there's no reason to believe we're lucky to have 3 friends in a lifetime. You can have that opinion, but there's no reason to think it's true. And as far as cheering people up, I think sometimes you need to help people understand the reality in a way that is true without telling them more beliefs that might be untrue, without confusing people by saying, oh, if you think that tomorrow is going to be better than today, you are overly optimistic and cheerful and lying to yourself. You can think tomorrow is going to be better than today for very objective empirical reasons. Or forget tomorrow and today. I could say this week and next week. I could say this week was really bad. I planned too many things for myself. I was overloaded and I got really burned out. Next week is going to be better than this week because I've made sure to build in time for self-care. I have time that I'm going to be talking with friends and family. I'm going to make sure I do some things I enjoy. And so next week is going to be better than this week. Not because I want to cheer myself up, but because I've actually done things that give me empirical grounds for my belief. You know, when we talk about truth, we have to ask, whose truths are these? And I don't want any of the school of life's truths. They're not true to me. If they're true to you, I would try to really assess what makes these things true. Look at them with a critical eye. Really ask, how do I know that that's true? At the end of the School of Life's video, they link to a bunch of things that they're selling and sharing. One of which is a book called Varieties of Melancholy. So the School of Life put out a book called Varieties of Melancholy. That's something I'm certainly not surprised about. If you're melancholy, if you're sad, that's fine. If you feel like you hate people, that's okay, but it doesn't make it true. So maybe try to find the true perspective. It would be my advice to the School of Life. But they're making a lot of money and it's hard to make people understand things that go against their bottom line. So whatever. I want to thank people who support my bottom line, my supporters on Patreon. Thank you so much. That's so nice of you. So if you, we have the wonderful Put My Name in the Credits winky face. We got Elise, and we got another cool, kind, anonymous person. If you want to join this list and give me more names to say, come over to patreon.com/whatstherapy. We got tons of extra videos, music. If you like Twitch and you like chess, I stream chess on Twitch, so you can get both things at the same time. So come over to the Twitch channel if you like that. Link's in the description. And you can check out my other video about School of Life, and you can check out all the other videos I have about mental health, or the videos I have about philosophy and stuff like that. I got a bunch of political videos too. I got silly videos. And yeah, I enjoyed making this. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And if you did, let me know in the comments. Please subscribe. I mean, if you got this far in the video, obviously subscribe. I'm gonna do more videos. And I could do more School of Life videos if people want me to, or maybe if people don't want me to, because I don't think anyone asked me to do this one. And that's a dark truth that I just need to embrace. Bye.